on an international finance level, is, the US dollar has been the reserve currency, for what, 50 years,
Yeah.
right? And, it's been tied to oil. Well, Russia, China, Brazil, South Africa, India, are all making a concerted effort right now in the BRICS bloc, to create at least a secondary, if not a different, reserve currency. And that would apply essentially to 2/3 of the world.
Yeah.
And so, a lot of our ability as Americans to kind of ignore, economic principles, because that's what we've been doing. A lot of our ability to do that has been tied to the fact that the dollar is the global reserve currency. And every dollar spent on oil, every dollar spent, period, cycles through the states, cycles through New York. And so that's given us a lot of leverage.
Yeah.
And so it's given us the ability to do some things and to ignore some laws,
Right.
in the world that, okay, if that goes away, well, a lot of that leverage goes away as well.
Yeah.
And so, there's layers upon layers, to this whole thing, if you really want to chase down that rabbit trail.
Yeah.
But, so
somebody gave me a great analogy on the world, on the US dollar being a reserve currency. And, this isn't completely analogous, but it was good enough. It's like the US, was an up and coming teenager. And then we were a badass college student. And then as a college student, we found out that daddy had a trust fund for us. So in our 20s and 30s and 40s and now into our 50s, we're spending way more money than we make because we've got daddy's trust fund. And we're still kind of thinking about our glory days back in college when we were like hard working and hard charging. But what we don't want to admit to ourselves is that in our 50s, dad's going to die and the trust fund's going to run out, right? And it's like at that moment that dad dies and the trust fund's gone, we're screwed. And that's kind of the analogy to once the world decides, oh, you cut off Russia with economic sanctions, China owns too much of your debt. You guys, we don't really like how you play with the rest of the world for whatever reason, economic, societally, governmental. If they just decide the US dollar is not the world reserve currency anymore, which cannot really happen overnight, it's kind of a long, slow decline. We're in real trouble.